I'm the creator of It's Pony, and I'll kind of guide you through kind of all the characters you want. I'll kind of draw them out and on how to kind of bring their little world to life. I'll start off by just kind of showing you all who I'm going to be drawing. So the show, obviously, is Pony. It's all about a little girl called Annie. Annie and her pony. So they are best friends, but they're not your traditional best friends. They are, you know, Annie has a pony, she loves her pony, but he is a pain, right? He's not your, he's like any girl who loves a pet, and if you had a pet of your own, they might not be the best, they might not do what they're meant to do, they might not always kind of act like you want them to act, and you might get embarrassed by them, but you're always going to stick with them because they're your pet, they're your pony, they're yours. So he's super simple, and that's kind of the point of him, right? We just wanted to keep him super simple. So he's this ball. With a stick at the top, sticks out the bottom, sticks outside. So, and his head as well is just this kind of long cylinder, and the neck kind of hits it, not at the end. You've got a bit of space for the back of the head for what little brain he's got is back there. And then once we have that, we can just start adding the details. So I'll kind of start with his head. So he's always a bit skewish. So he's got this little colour change here. So his nose is normally this way, but then his eyes are normally the other way. So they're angled that way, his eyes will be normally angled that way, but that normally means that it just gives him a nice kind of goofy feel because he's just slightly off kilter. And then the ears just stick up back here, and then I'll add this kind of more of that later. And then his mouth, depending what kind of look we want to give him, normally follows down the neck. So where we can, it will kind of follow down the neck. And there he is. That's who he is. So he just feels like a really, you know, he's a strong character. It's just nice that you know you can look at him. There's not much to him, but you know who he is straight away. And that's really comforting when you've got some characters that you know that, oh, that's Pony. That's Pony. I know who that is. And he does, yeah, his feet have this weird kind of, you get to the bottom of them and they're pretty much coconuts. But that does mean that we have that trouble of, like, you know, whenever he's going to pick something up, how is he going to pick something up? So we, you know, if possible, we kind of try and hide it, right? If he's going to pick up a bone or something, or if he's going to pick up, well, let me say a fork, we'd normally try and hide it so that you don't see that it's just kind of stuck on the back where possible. I'm sure you've spotted that sometimes we just have not been able to get away with that. He's also got these little specks all over him, just to help give him that feeling that he's dishevelled. A few around the body as well. They're normally, if you're interested in getting them to spot them, they're normally 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Shape of his back. And he has a few on his face as well. One of the things we also try and do in the show is we try and get like kind of work on the line a bit, so it looks a bit more hand drawn. So there's gonna be lots of thicks and thins in it. So we just want him to feel cuddled. Like, I don't want to feel like he's a kind of character you can hold and kind of hug. And that's why we just kind of want that roughness and that feeling that, oh yeah, he's like a toy that's come to life. So if you were to draw Annie, she's I mean, actually, all the characters. In fact, maybe I'll just do a sheet now of the characters, just to sort of show you, kind of in a really simple way, how they're built. Because we've tried to make sure that they're all really kind of simple designs. So, if you look at Annie, she's essentially this kind of simple shape. She does have some extras, but that is essentially all she is. She's this kind of a little upturned, this kind of cup, with a little bobble on the top and a little bobble around the back. And then her friends are, so let's put Pony bang in the middle. So Pony, easiest of all, he's like a circle with some kind of legs sticking out the bottom with some kind of coconut hooves on the bottom, and then this big kind of fat head on top. That's pretty much all he is. And then we can add all the extra stuff on top. His kind of skewy eyes and his like skewy nose, his big mouth, and then all the other extra stuff that goes around him and all the little specks and stuff. But if that was Annie, we have all our other friends are all pretty distinctive as well, right? We've got one of our friends, Clara. She again has quite, even if you didn't draw all the inside of her, you'd kind of know who she was just from the outside of her, because she has this distinctive blonde hair, and then we can fill in the rest of her after that, and we know that's who she is. Again, the same thing with Eston. Eston's kind of these two opposing little semicircles with big hair, and that's pretty much all Heston is as well. So we do try and make sure that essentially they're quite simple, and then we can, so that you can kind of recognize them from a distance, and you know that if you see that shape, that you know, all right, that must be Henrietta. Who am I missing? Oh, Jerry. I mean, Jerry's probably the least. I mean, he's a kind of plain character anyway. So Jerry is the most plain. So he is just fairly stocky, nothing too interesting about him. Big eyebrows, but then they all have big eyebrows. And he's going to be, you know, you'd kind of recognize him, but I suppose his silhouette isn't quite as strong as these guys who definitely have something that you'd kind of recognize them from afar. We're just emerging into the world, right, really. We've just kind of started off with, you know, showing people who they are, and it's just exciting knowing that we have all these characters that we've kind of barely touched at the moment. And there's so many of them that we really want to see more of. One of them being this one. The one who has the dog ears. Who's just, so this one who's just crazy about any animals. And all these ones that it's like, oh, we want to see more Beatrice episodes, because she's nuts. And she's nuts in a different way to Pony. And then she's nuts in a way that, oh, that would be great to see. Let's see more what she gets up to. While I'm drawing the next one, I'll just chat a bit about the show, and you know, it's a bit, yeah, like I said, it's been kind of 3 or 4 years in the making, and there's about, to make this kind of show, there's about 50 people, and they're all doing obviously a load of different jobs. There's everything. I mean, it starts off with the script writers just coming up with, you know, as many great stories as we can come up with. So they'll come up with some fantastic stories, and then and once we've got those, we've got some great storyboarders who will just be kind of working on. They'll be looking at that script and they'll be going, oh yeah, that's great. And then he could, like, maybe Pony sees that, and you know, he's meant to run from one place to the other, and they're like, well, yeah, that would be great, but what if he was actually we could do that, but he's riding in something at the same time. That would add a bit of fun to it. So maybe we could do that. And they also, they'll tidy up a lot of these ideas, and then we take them on to the next stage where they're actually boarding out the entire. So every single picture is boarded out, every single scene, every single line is drawn out, and then that will go through to an animatic, and then in that animatic it's all put together in one movie that we can watch and then have a look at what's going on and thinking, yeah, that's great. Love the bit where he's in the shopping cart. And then, and obviously there's probably 10 storyboarders. And then once we've got through to this animatic, once this has been put together, then we need all the people who are going to come up with the beautiful backgrounds. So there'll be another, how many people on the backgrounds? Big team of background, 10 backgrounders as well, all just kind of working on the background art. And then once we've got the background art, then it's kind of all the little bits are put together, the characters are put in the scene, and then the animators get to work making sure that everything moves nicely, and making sure that it looks like he's hurt when he's hurt, and just getting the most out of the comedy. I should say actually, so the voices would have gone in here. So we pretty much get to watch the movie here just in black and white without any of the animation. So the real fun bit is once we've got the backgrounds and they've been fully animated, then you really get to sit back and you get to watch, almost an almost final thing, and that's the best bit.
I'm Josh, and I play Pony in It's Pony, and Ant Blades here is the creator of It's Pony, and he's drawing a lot of the characters and from the show and teaching how to draw those characters. And someone was asking about George, about Dad, about George Bramley. Is that
Dad?
Yeah. Have you? Yet?
I haven't drawn him yet, and I've forgotten about that. Dad with the massive nose. And a big haystack beard.
Oh yeah. What's funny is that Abraham Ben Ruby, who plays George Bramley, he and Jessica and I often are in the same recording booth when we record some of these scenes together. And Abe he's really big, he's really tall, so he kind of has that. He feels like Dad to me. I mean, he doesn't look like Dad, but he feels like Dad. I mean, do you agree?
It's just you couldn't have that kind of voice he has, though, right? Without being a big guy. It's such a booming, heavy, but comforting voice, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, you just want him to give you a hug, which he often does.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly.
I think George Bramley and Abe. Oh, and are those Wellington boots?
Well, yeah, we tried to. We did try and give them all this. We did try and give them all this kind of farmer feel. So yeah, they all have their wellies on. They haven't quite forgotten that they're farmers. That's kind of still a leftover from the days when they used to be proper farmers. Not that they are now. So yeah, we give them wellies. And he's got his kind of old sort of shirt as well. I love that. He's a. I don't know. I didn't realise I haven't even drawn him yet. And yeah, he's kind of one of those ones that, in the household, Mum loves Pony almost just as much as Annie. Really, she just loves that her daughter's got this pet. So for Dad is he's the kind of slightly sensible one who realises more than anyone that Pony is not really meant to be in a house, and that that does come up quite a lot. It's quite easy for him to get annoyed by Pony, and Pony to be absolutely oblivious to the whole thing because he pretty much loves everyone.
That's great. George Bramley, and people are really excited about George here.
If I was to draw,
Can we just have him his standard gasp? I mean, that seems to be one of his main.
Oh yeah, that's helpful. Yeah. How about that? Is that?
I spoke over it. I spoke over it. We need it again. That's it. That's it. That's
it again.
Yeah, maybe I'll go with mum. I feel like I should put mum above dog.
Yeah, probably.
That just seems polite.
I was thinking everybody who lives in the apartment building. Well, there's so many. There's Mr. Panks. There's Mrs. Okaba. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, there's a load we need to cover.
Yeah.
So mum has a very long face, and so she's a simple shape. She's this kind of like pill shape, and then we just add the features on top of that. So again, the eyes are pretty high up. She's got this little kind of similar thing to Annie at the top. She's got her hair that kind of, again, it's the same both sides. And then a similar kind of long, slightly longer skirt.
And does she have big eyebrows too? Does everybody have big eyebrows?
They actually, mum not so much. Mum is one of the few ones who has fairly, compared to everyone else, she's one of the ones who actually looks like she looks after them. So she's she's gone something with her eyebrows. I think she goes to the salon or something. She sorts hers out. But yeah, the other ones, some of them are out of control. I mean, Jerry's are the craziest, right? He's got.
And is that because he's so alarmed all the time or concerned?
Yeah, it's probably just because that suits him, right? This suits these big eyebrows of just the world is a constant worry, and which fair enough for Jerry. Like things tend to happen to Jerry. I think he's just too nice. I think if I was him, I'd probably just stay away from Annie and Pony, but I think he just likes that they like hanging out with him. So I think he's just happy to go along with it. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do whatever you ask me to do.
So there was someone who had a question about how you draw different actions and movements. And I know you touched upon a little bit how Pony picks up objects, but I didn't know if that's something that someone said, like as an example, someone running.
Well, I mean, if it's Annie, so I mean, any kind of cat, Annie does have like a simple head. So normally when she's still, she's upright. As soon as she starts running, she kind of leans forward. So we just need to make, normally when you're with any action, what we try and do is get a strong, we call it a line of action, which is like a strong line where you feel like there's some momentum. So if you were running forwards, you'd kind of start leaning forwards to get kind of following that line. So and then once you know you're kind of in that sort of dynamic pose, and that's pretty much what an Annie run is. So the thing to remember with her anyway, or any of them, is just around where the weight's going. So it really, if someone is running and they're like, if they're running but they're running like this, it just doesn't feel as exciting. You just don't feel like they're doing. You don't feel like they're going quite as fast. It just doesn't feel quite as adventurous. If Annie was reaching for something up here, if you were really stretching to get something,
everything that you've got. Like if you were reaching up, you're going to stretch your arms as much as it can, and you're going to stretch your body as much as you can. So that line of action, you just kind of push up from there. And if once you know you have that, it makes the poses so much stronger because you know that even when she's on tippy toes, trying to get whatever's up there, you do feel like they're stretching. And that is one of the important things whenever you're posing in boarding or posing for animation. It makes such a difference.
I just read that we have a few requests to draw some chickens. How does that sound?
Oh, the chickens. Yes, of course.
Okay.
I've forgotten about the chickens.
Yeah, I can never forget. The chickens, they feature heavily in It's Pony.
Because their mum's love, right? So she loves her thing.
Yeah.
And everyone has a passion. Hers is the chickens. There's a load. I think there's 10 of them. They've got names. I don't think we've heard all the names yet, but you will as things progress. You'll kind of learn who they all are. There's a load of these guys, and then we haven't seen him that much, but there is a cockerel as well, who's a bit more. I've forgotten their little things. But there is a cockerel who he's around, and I'm sure we're going to find more chances to have fun with that guy as well.
Well, I can't wait for Pony to interact with him some more. So if you were to break the chicken down and somebody wanted to kind of play around with it, would there be some simple steps you would kind of take in the same way you did with Pony? And
yeah, again, checking that we can see. Yeah, they're pretty simple as well. They are just. I'm just kind of hiding it by drawing loads of lines, but actually they're all pretty simple. So weirdly, it's kind of an egg shape, right? And then on top, we just have a long. I don't even know what I'd call that, but that's the neck. That's the head and the neck. And with all our characters, pretty much all our characters, the eyes are normally fairly high. So you'd normally think about drawing the eyes pretty low down next to the beak, but we normally put them pretty high. So the beak is going to be just a touch lower. Then he has his little sheath, has a quiffy thing at the top. The tails are actually I haven't got the reference for this, but I'm pretty sure this is exactly what they are. The tail is about 4 of these things at the back. And if you do a few of these around the bottom, that's just where the neck is hitting the body. And then the legs just stick down pretty much in the middle. And then that's it. That's your chicken.
You got a flip book there.
I've got a flip book of stuff that we've been through. Yeah.
Amplade's creator of Pony. Look at that. That's gonna go on eBay for sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that will go.
Yeah.
Before this is over, this will go on. Yeah, exactly.